Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just officially updating you on some more current transfer rumours and gossip. Going to give you the latest news in regards to Bruno Fernandes. Also going to keep you up to date with what's going on with Harry Maguire, and of course going to keep you up to date with what's going on with Paul Dybala. So there is lots to negotiate on this current video today, but we'll currently start with Bruno Fernandes. Now reportedly Manchester United have an agreement in principle to sign Bruno Fernandes, even though recent reports I think came out today and yesterday, and their reportedly said that Sporting Lisbon have denied speculation that Manchester United have agreed a deal to currently sign Bruno Fernandes. Obviously reports merged out yesterday saying that Manchester United had made an offer to Sporting Lisbon through Bruno Fernandes' agent and all that. But I do believe Bruno Fernandes' move to Manchester United now is looking very probable. I do believe that Sporting Lisbon are orchestrating on playing Bruno Fernandes on Sunday. Obviously Sporting Lisbon do play Benfica on Sunday in the Portuguese Super Cup, and I do believe that's going to be Bruno Fernandes' farewell appearance and all that. But we do know for the entirety of the summer that Manchester United have been currently tracking him, and obviously regardless of what happens with Paul Pogba, we are still looking to bring a couple of new additions in that midfield. So for the entirety of the summer, Bruno Fernandes' move to Manchester United hasn't been dependent on what happens with Paul Pogba. Potentially, as you all know, reports emerged out last weekend. Obviously basically saying that Manchester United had reached an agreement with Sporting Lisbon. It reportedly said that a fee of around 62 or 63 million pounds had been agreed, and it reportedly said over the course of the weekend that he was set to fly out to the UK, was Bruno Fernandes, for his medical with Manchester United ahead of his proposed move to Old Trafford. So reportedly now we have reached an agreement in principle for Bruno Fernandes, but obviously Sporting Lisbon have dismissed this speculation, because they reportedly said that Man United are not close to currently agreeing a deal for Bruno Fernandes. But obviously we do know, like I said, Man United have been in talks with Sporting Lisbon for quite some time. I do believe for the large portions of the summer, Sporting Lisbon's valuation has seen to the stumbling block of Bruno Fernandes making his proposed move to Manchester United, because obviously Sporting Lisbon do initially value him at around £70 million. Obviously at one point, we was only willing to pay him around £50 million for his services, but we did say we're not intending on overspending on our transfer targets this summer. I do believe Harry Maguire to Manchester United is very imminent. Also Bruno Fernandes is very imminent, but I think Harry Maguire is more imminent than Bruno Fernandes. So I do believe actually Harry Maguire is going to be our third signing this summer, so it's going to take our spending up to around £148 million, because obviously we've already spent £68 million this summer on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, and we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James, he's still a prospect and he still needs time to develop. And Wan-Bissaka, I think he's had a great start to his Manchester United career, but both players have done really well in pre-season. But we know that we need more than Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka. Obviously we want to get a centre back in. Want to get a couple of new additions in that midfield, and we're also in search for a right winger. Some people have indicated out saying that we do need to sell players, because there's some problematic players at Manchester United. Some people have said we need to sell players to help us generate more funds and rebuild the squad even more. But I am very convinced this week that we will get two signings completed, and I should presume it's going to be Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes. So we're definitely going to do more transfer activity. I think there's just under a week and a half now remaining this current window. But with Bruno Fernandes, like I said, also Tottenham and Liverpool, were credited with an interest in him. But I do believe, the majority of the summer, he has been, we've been considered the favourites, to currently sign him. We do know the boss of Sporting Lisbon, he's had his overarching view on the speculation about Bruno Fernandes. And obviously, he was recently saying, he doesn't know if Bruno Fernandes is going to be leaving. He said his future remains up in the air. But he did say, that clubs have been keen on signing him this summer, but mainly, of course, Manchester United. And he did say, did the Sporting Lisbon boss, that Bruno Sporting Lisbon are going to find it hard to find an adequate replacement. And obviously, the Sporting Lisbon president, he came out the other week and he revealed what type of fee Manchester United would have to pay to convince Sporting Lisbon to offload him. Journalists came out the other week and they initially said, Manchester United were never in for him and all that. But because initially it said from Sky Sports the other week that, we believe that, the majority of the speculation about Bruno Fernandes, was actually stemming from Portugal, his homeland, rather than Manchester. But I do believe now it's currently going to happen. We all thought initially, Bruno Fernandes' farewell appearance was against Valencia. Obviously, when he did come off crying in that game, obviously Valencia won 2-1. But Bruno Fernandes came off crying in that game. So obviously, that fueled more speculation. I do believe with his emotional reaction. that, put Manchester United fans into meltdown. So reportedly, it's not assured that he will play on Sunday, but Sporting Lisbon, I think, do want to play him on Sunday against Benfica before he completes his transfer to Manchester United. But I do believe, out of Bruno Fernandes and Milinkovic Savic, because obviously, they're the midfielders, we've been in for. I'd love Milinkovic Savic also to come in, but I'm sceptical now about Milinkovic Savic coming in, to be quite honest with you. And I think Milinkovic Savic to Manchester United anywhere is dependent on, what happens with Paul Pogba. But potentially, if I had to choose out of Bruno Fernandes and Milinkovic Savic, my preference, would be Bruno Fernandes. But yeah, he's a very, very good player. Only 24 years of age, Bruno Fernandes. He's demonstrated in his 2 years with Sporting Lisbon, that he can score goals. He can create assists, he can create chances. His tenacity, and that's really, really good. Bruno Fernandes is also fantastic from set pieces. But yeah, we've been in for him for the entirety of the summer. We have been, he has been one of our priority targets. Like I said, he hasn't really played to the highest level as yet, so he hasn't really got the experience of that. And he did initially say the other week that that the board had concerns. So initially it had said the board weren't backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for this particular signing because they did have concerns of spending quite a bit of money on a player that knows little about Champions League football and all that. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does want to get this deal over the line. Obviously, with Ed Woodward, he's obviously overseeing our transfer business. He's working on getting deals completed as well, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to want to get all the players that he wants in this window, because obviously the board initially assured that there was going to be backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this summer, and obviously if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't get all the players that he wants, you can say the board have let him down. Obviously, we will criticise the board. We'll also criticise Ed Woodward. But Solskjaer's given his analysis on this window, and he hasn't become infuriated. He just basically said, we've got two good players in, that are going to do very, very well at Manchester United. I'm very adamant that they're going to do well anywhere. But he says we basically do need to be patient. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's initial preference, was at the end of March to get all our transfer business completed by the time we did initially go on pre-season. But obviously, that didn't materialise. But yeah, maybe two players could come in this week, maybe even three more players, could come to Manchester United, because don't forget, Dybala now, could be coming in as well. So I'm excited about the prospect. I'm excited about the prospect of Dybala and that, coming to Manchester United. But with Bruno Fernandes, his initial release cost is around £88 million. Obviously, we confirm that we're not determined to go anywhere near that figure. Obviously, he's under contract with Sporting Lisbon until 2023. Before he was at Sporting Lisbon, he had good spells with Underneath and Sampdoria. So obviously, he spent the majority of his career in Italy, when he was younger, Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, like I said, his agent has been in the UK quite a few times, Bruno Fernandes, because his agent is obviously looking for the best possible deal for his client. But like I said, Sporting Lisbon have been playing hardball for the majority of the summer. A couple of months ago, it was looking like Bruno Fernandes was going to be going to Manchester City. It was looking like that was going to happen, but obviously initially Manchester City had currently withdrawn their interest. But I do believe Bruno Fernandes' actual preference, is to make a move to Manchester United, because obviously a player of Bruno Fernandes' calibre and level, obviously he's not going to want to intend on spending the rest of his career with Sporting Lisbon, or he's not going to intend on spending a lot more years with Sporting Lisbon. Obviously he's going to want to rejuvenate his career and take his footballing career to the next level. But I do believe he'll deliver the goods for Manchester United. I've since was linked to him, and I read up all about him. I think his stats are very, very impressive. He's going to fit the Manchester United agenda really, really well. But it should be completed sometime this week. We have now reached an agreement in principle. I'm not too sure if a fee's been agreed, even though reports emerged out at the weekend and that saying around the £62 and £63 million fee had been agreed. This was actually stemming from the Italian press. But like I said, Tottenham and Liverpool, I think, have also held negotiations with their current agent. But yeah, he's keen on making the move to Manchester United. So I actually believe he's going to be our fourth signing this summer. So disregarding, what we spent on, Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, we get Harry Maguire safely around £80 million, because that's what we're going to get him for. Say we get Bruno Fernandes for £60 million, that's going to cost us around 142 or 143 million pounds. That's disregarding what we spent on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka. But yeah, I'm excited about the prospects of the likes of Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes and that, currently coming in, because they will dramatically improve us. But I think we'll have a better season this season. I know it was a disappointing season last season. We finished sixth. Obviously, we didn't win many silverware last season. We failed to qualify for the Champions League. Obviously, we've failed to qualify for the Champions League 3 times out of the 6 seasons, since Alex Ferguson's retirement. But I do believe this season, we'll have a much better season. Solskjaer the other week was talking about our ambitions for this season, and believes, you know, we'll be aiming for further up than fourth. But in my overarching view on this is, I think, you know, we will finish in the top 4 this season, maybe in the top 3. We could even get second, but I'm still very sceptical about Manchester United currently, you know, winning the league. I don't think we'll win the league in the next couple of seasons. I initially said our aspirations, you know, will be that top 4 in the next couple of seasons. But I think, you know, I'm very, very sceptical about Manchester United, you know, currently winning the league. But like I did initially say, Solskjaer was recently talking about our recruitment policy, because analysing the last couple of windows, obviously, you know, we didn't get anyone in January, you know, we didn't get our number 1 targets last summer, because reflecting back last summer, the board weren't back in the signings that Jose Mourinho, you know, wanted to recommend it in to the football club. Obviously, I do believe, we initially said we are moving away from the policy of signing them well-established players, because quite a few people said, look, you know, we should be sensible over our recruitment this summer, but we're doing all Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to bring upcoming players in that can grow, develop and emulate superstars. And obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to bring, you know, the players in, you know, who he thinks are going to fit the culture of the club, who he thinks are going to fit the history of the club, because obviously, you know, he wants to build a squad, you know, worthy of the club's mystery. But like I said, I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get Manchester United back to a success, but we are definitely going to do more transfer activity, you know, which is very, very good news. You know, some people may even say Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes isn't even enough. You know, if Paul Dybala, you know, was to come in as well, you know, that would be even more better in our attacking line. Analysing our squad as it stands at the moment, though, you know, disregarding Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes coming in, you know, analysing as it is at the moment, I think it's a pretty decent squad, but obviously, you know, it isn't competitive enough. And I did say, regardless of who our manager is, you know, they would still currently, you know, struggle with this Manchester United squad and that at the moment. But yeah, you know, basically, you know, do need to revitalise the squad. Like I said, maybe, you know, we don't need to sell players. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer initially said, you know, we don't need to currently sell players and all that. You know, he's aware of the speculation, because there's been a lot of speculation this summer about players coming in and, of course, players going out. But he's aware that we don't need to sell players, because like I give you a prime example on my last video, you know, we do know Paul Pogba's been linked to a move away from the football club. So say, you know, it would help us with our transition and our rebuilding process if we sold Paul Pogba. In a way, it could be bad business for Manchester United, because if we was like orchestrating, you know, selling Paul Pogba, say, for £150 million, and, you know, we did get £150 million for Paul Pogba, then we went and got 2 or 3 players for the £150 million. Basically, you know, we're just spending, you know, what we basically, you know, generated from Paul Pogba's departure. And, you know, we're not that type of football club, you know, we're not Stoke City, you know, we're a big, massive club, you know, we've got massive revenues and all that. But like I said, you know, we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world, you know, we are the most successful team in England. So even though we haven't got Champions League football this season to offer, you know, maybe still players to the elite level, you know, are keen on making the move to Manchester United. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is definitely not going to get the players he wants. We're not going to get a right winner in. That's a disappointment, because I think, you know, Manchester United do need a right winner. Well, we was in for Nicolas Pepe, wasn't we? But obviously, you know, it's looking likely, you know, he's currently, you know, going to be going to Arsenal. But I do believe our next 2 signings are going to be Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes. Now, obviously, you know, with Bruno Fernandes, you know, we've been in for him for the entirety of so I thought initially we'd have had the deal done way by now. We'd have had the current deal done. But obviously now, like I said, the valuation has seemed to be the current stumbling block, you know, for the majority of this summer. But he is primarily in attacking midfield, is Bruno Fernandes. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is actually orchestrating on, you know, putting him in that number 10 position, because maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes that, you know, Bruno Fernandes will be more effective in that current role. Obviously, that number 10 is just behind the current centre forward. There again, you know, Paul Dybala, you know, primarily, you know, plays as a number 10. So if he comes in, that's where I do believe, you know, Manchester United will currently put him. But like I said, I think Bruno Fernandes is very, very reliable, and I think, you know, he will exceed expectation levels at Manchester United. But more things will update about it this week. I want to give you the news now in regards to Harry Maguire from Leicester. Now, reportedly, you know, Brendan Rodgers has currently come out. Brendan Rodgers has currently come out and he's denied speculation that Manchester United are close to signing Harry Maguire. Now, potentially, you know, Brendan Rodgers has had his overarching view on it. You know, he's very adamant, you know, that, you know, Leicester, well, no team has, you know, currently met, you know, Harry Maguire's valuation. Obviously, we're speaking about the other week, I think that, you know, Leicester have already turned 2 bids down for Harry Maguire. We also got initial boost in our pursuit of Harry Maguire, because we reportedly said that Brendan Rodgers insists that there is no cut-off date in which, you know, Leicester, you know, would no longer consider selling Harry Maguire. But, you know, Dimarzio, he came out quite a few days ago, just like he did with Bruno Fernandes yesterday, because Dimarzio said, you know, we're close to signing Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, you know, Bruno Fernandes is going to be leaving, because obviously he's told his Sporting Lisbon teammates he's going to be leaving Sporting Lisbon this summer. But Dimarzio also said the same thing about Harry Maguire, what he said to Bruno Fernandes. You know, he said our deal for Harry Maguire is in the closing stages. Obviously, it fueled more speculation about Harry Maguire, you know, when he did skip at Leicester training, was it a couple of days ago. I do believe he did return to train with Leicester yesterday, if I'm right. And reportedly, Harry Maguire has become infuriated with Leicester, with their reluctance, to sell him to Manchester United, because obviously, Leicester are under no financial pressure to sell him. Leicester deep down do know how much imperative player he is. Obviously, Leicester are standing firm on this. They want in the excess of £80 million. Obviously, we're going to have to pay a world record fee, to get a deal over the line for Harry Maguire. But it's looking very imminent. He is going to be our third signing this summer. Obviously, I was reading recent reports, and it said obviously, Leicester want a higher transfer fee up front because they're sceptical. That Manchester United. Because they're sceptical that Manchester United, will get qualification for the Champions League this season. So reportedly they want a higher transfer fee up front. I was reading that a couple of days ago, and it reportedly said, we'd offered around £72 million. Obviously, with additional bonus payments, due based on trophies and finishing in the top four. So they want a higher transfer fee up front. Reportedly, obviously Harry Maguire, informed Brendan Rodgers. He also informed his Leicester teammates the other week that he does want to leave Leicester to obviously rejuvenate his career and take his footballing career to the next level. And I think he's keen on making the move to Manchester United because obviously he will relish. He wants to relish this opportunity. Does Harry Maguire, and looking at he will dramatically improve his defensively because he's a central defender. We've had issues defensively for several years now. Look at it last season. We conceded 54 goals in 38 Premier League games, and I don't think we've had a world class central defender. Since we had the likes of Vidic and Ferdinand and all that. So yeah, I think Harry Maguire, would be the right solution for Manchester United. He's also a Premier League proven, which is also very very beneficial. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has instructed Ed Woodward, to get a transfer completed for Harry Maguire. Obviously, he's instructed Ed Woodward to get a transfer completed for Harry Maguire, and obviously Ed Woodward remains in negotiations with Leicester and all that. Potentially, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to put Harry Maguire alongside Victor Lindelof in our back line because they will complement each other fantastically well. Will Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, and I do believe Victor Lindelof himself is happy about the prospect of Harry Maguire playing alongside him and all that, because I do believe they'll blend in our line fantastically well. But potentially Leicester do want in the excess of £80 million, and I do believe for the large portions of the summer and that Leicester City's valuation has seemed to be the stumbling block. Don't forget we've already had a £70 million bid turned down for Harry Maguire, because at one point we was only willing to pay 70 or £75 million. Reflected back a couple of weeks ago, was it two or 3 weeks ago now, Manchester City were closing in on the signing of Harry Maguire, and his initial first choice preference was Manchester City ahead of Manchester United. City were orchestrating on paying him around £280,000 a week. He said City were going to get him for £80 million, but obviously City had an issue with withdrawn their interest because obviously City are not willing to pay £80 million. City are only willing to pay around £65 million for his services. So obviously we've been in pole position anyway, for quite some time to currently sign him. But like I said, he'd be a very, very good signing and that for Manchester United. So we're willing to pay that £80 million for him. So obviously, this fee this £80 million fee is going to make him the most expensive defender in the world. Also, this fee is going to exceed the fee of what Liverpool, paid for Virgil van Dijk back in January 2018, because Liverpool paid around £75 million for Virgil van Dijk. But we have been in talks with Leicester for quite some time over getting a deal over the line. But Harry Maguire's been relentlessly linked to a move to Manchester United. Don't forget, was in for him last summer, and Jose Mourinho did want Harry Maguire last summer, but reflecting back last summer, it was actually not our priority to recommend a central defender to come in. But obviously last summer the board weren't backing the signs that Jose Mourinho wanted to recommend in. Obviously even though Jose Mourinho's he's a winner, he's got that proven pedigree and all that, and he's won stuff everywhere he's currently been, the couple of main factor reasons why it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, and I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a much better fit for this squad than Jose Mourinho was, but it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho because obviously he had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with quite a few of the players. Obviously, like I said, the board weren't backing the signs that he wanted to recommend in last summer. It didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, even though he spent just under £400 million at the club on 11 players, even though he did win 2 trophies and that in his first season. It just potentially didn't currently work out under him. But I think definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the right man for Manchester United. But yeah, we was in for Harry Maguire last summer. I do believe we was also tracking Harry Maguire, if I'm right, when he was a youngster at Sheffield United. I do believe also Manchester United were in for him then. But like I said, Harry Maguire has been at Leicester 2 years. He's made 76 appearances in all competitions. 69 of those appearances have come in the Premier League. He signed a new long-term contract only last summer with Leicester, so he's in the contract with them until 2023. And Leicester get £80 million for him, which they're gonna obviously they'll make a huge profit on the player. They only paid £17 million for him, so basically they're going to gain quite a bit of a profit at Leicester. So the money they generate from his departure, they could maybe get 2 or maybe even 3 players with that. Could Leicester, but Leicester still know how much of an imperative player Harry Maguire is. In my overarching view on this, I don't think Harry Maguire is worth £80 million. I think maybe at the top £70 million is reasonable in this market this day and age. But I said over the £70 million mark, it's a bit too much for Harry Maguire. But obviously, we've got the financial power anyway, to meet what Leicester are demanding. Some reports said that Leicester value Harry Maguire at £90 million, but I do believe that's way too extortionate, because for that £90 million figure, or maybe just a bit more, we'll probably be able to get Koulibaly with that kind of money. So like I said, though, I've been impressed with Harry Maguire in the last couple of seasons with Leicester. Like I said, 76 appearances in all competitions, 69 of those have come in the Premier League. Obviously, I do believe Mike Phelan's instructed Manchester United to get a transfer completed for him, because don't forget, Mike Phelan obviously managed Harry Maguire during his short tenure with Hull. I also believe Alex Ferguson, had his overarching view on it. It was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He basically, said, he wants Manchester United, of course, to get the deal over the line for him, because I do think, blending alongside Lindelof in our back line fantastically well. Obviously, there's been talks about captaincies going on as well. There's been quite a few players demanding for that captaincy. You had De Gea demanding for the captaincy. Solskjaer's revealed he has considered Paul Pogba for the captaincy this season, a bit convincing to remain at the football club. Obviously, Harry Maguire now is demanding the captaincy. Once he's moved to Manchester United, does currently finalise. There was talks of Arch Young and that, getting the captaincy. Obviously, it was initially Valencia, but obviously, Valencia left at the end of last season. But like I said, if Harry Maguire comes in, we may orchestrate on selling one central defender anyway, because analysing it, we have got a lot of central defenders. You've got Rojo, you've got Smalling, you've got Jones. They're no longer good enough to represent Manchester United. Obviously, you've got Eric Bailly. Obviously, with Eric Bailly, I think now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's instructed, Ed Woodward to get the deal over the line for Harry Maguire, and he's obviously, we speed up our pursuit of the player, following this, the injury that Eric Bailly has sustained. And I do know how much of an imperative player that Eric Bailly is, but I think his Manchester United career has been mainly affected, with the amount of injuries he has sustained, and I do believe he's a huge doubt for this season. Is Eric Bailly, so he's another central defender we've got anyway. You've got we've got Alex Tuanzebe as well. Don't forget. So we've Lindelof. We've got around 5 or 6 central defenders. Some people have maybe said we should orchestrate on loaning Alex Tuanzebe out for another season, because it may be beneficial for his future. It'll gain him a bit more experience. But Tuanzebe did well on his loan spell with Aston Villa last season. Don't forget. I think we definitely need to get rid of Rojo and Darmian at the football club, because they're 2 problematic players. They've both endured difficult times anyway. Darmian hasn't even played on pre-season. Darmian, he's served the 2 requirements now at the club anyway. You've got Rojo, he's been playing in pre-season, but, with Marcus Rojo, his Manchester United career has been mainly affected, the amount of injuries he has currently sustained. But yeah, I do believe, in my opinion, I think we need to sell the problematic players. I think with Lindelof, I think him and Harry Maguire would be fantastic, because with Victor Lindelof, I think Harry Maguire's a better option, but I think with Victor Lindelof, he's, flourishing in this Manchester United team. He's been at the club 2 years now, obviously. He's started pre-season well as well. I'll credit him for that. Obviously, Victor Lindelof in his first season didn't really settle in, struggled for consistency, but I thought in his second season, Victor Lindelof, there was a vast improvements in his game. So for me, he's a very imperative player for Manchester United. But some people have said that midfield and that right wing position, they're more imperative areas, to strengthen up, than recommending a central defender to come in. But I do believe Harry Maguire to Manchester United now is definitely currently going to happen, and I think he would be a great leader in our back line. Still 26 years of age, in his prime, still got a hell of a lot of development in him. And look, he's British. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got quite a few British players on his agenda. We've already signed 2 British. We've already signed up 2 upcoming British players this summer, and so I think he will be a fantastic. Going back a while back, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer initially asked the British players in our squad, about their overarching views on Harry Maguire, because obviously they're going to know about Harry Maguire, because obviously Rashford's British, Lingard's British, Smalling's British, Jones is British and all that, and Ashley Young's British, so obviously, they're going to know about Harry Maguire, and Solskjaer, did, get positive remarks. But, we've heard on too, I know the two previous stories, have proven to be sceptical, when they initially said, Man United had allegedly agreed around an £80 million fee for, with Leicester for Harry Maguire. Obviously, that got proven to be a load of nonsense, so them current stories were cynical. But yeah, Harry Maguire is going to be the central defender that Manchester United have been in, but I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's top priority is to get a central defender in. Then he's obviously, going to be planning on bringing a couple of new additions in that midfield. I think we may only end up getting one midfielder, and that will be Bruno Fernandes, because I'm sceptical now about Milinkovic-Savic coming in. Initially, the actual plan is to keep Paul Pogba and still bring two midfielders in, that can replace Ander Herrera and Mario Fellaini, because obviously Ander Herrera and Mario Fellaini have currently left the football club. And now I want to give you news in regards to Paulo Dybala. Now, as I have been updating you guys on a regular basis now about Paulo Dybala. And like I did initially say to you, I'm very excited about the prospect of Paulo Dybala, currently coming in. And I do believe now he could come to Manchester United. Now, obviously, Sky in Italy, did confirm yesterday that, Manchester United and Juventus have agreed a swap deal involving Romelu Lukaku and Paulo Dybala. Obviously, the agreement is in principle. By the way, Sky in Italy, currently suggested Mao. But I think this will be very beneficial for Manchester United. Dybala coming in, of Dybala, coming in as part of a swap deal of Lukaku, of course, going to Juventus. Because looking at Lukaku now his surplus 2 requirements at Manchester United. Obviously, you've got Dybala, he's surplus 2 requirements now at Juventus. Because obviously, Dybala was, he initially lost his place in the Juventus team last season to Cristiano Ronaldo. I do believe a bit more additional information was updated. Obviously, Paulo Dybala is set to hold talks with Maurizio Sarri, with regards to his future. I do believe he's set to hold talks after training and all that. But yeah, like I said, and I think, this actually, could happen. I do believe Paulo Dybala's initial preference is to remain at Juventus. I do believe his preference, is to stay at Juventus and all that, Paulo Dybala. Obviously, we do know also, Tottenham have been linked with Paulo Dybala. Obviously, with Tottenham, they'd have to smash their transfer record to get a deal over the line for him, because Juventus initially value him at around £80 million. Obviously, Tottenham have just recently smashed their transfer record this summer on Tanguy Ndombele, who they nearly paid £60 million for. But we've been tentatively linked with Paulo Dybala. We've been tentatively linked to him. He hasn't obviously been one of our priority targets. I think more narratives have updated about Paul Dybala to Manchester United in the last 4 or 5 days. I do believe Paul Dybala's agent is in London. He arrived in London yesterday, so obviously hold talks with Manchester United, and I think now they're in talks over coming to an agreement on the personal terms. But I do believe, as I updated you on my last video, now that the actual Paul Dybala's wage demand could be the stumbling block of him making him a move to Manchester United. Now, I have been reading recent reports, and they're reportedly saying that Paul Dybala is demanding that he wants around 350 grand a week if he is to make his move to Manchester United. So I think 350 grand a week obviously equates to around just over £9 million a season. So reportedly, Paul Dybala's representatives and himself are demanding that that they want around over £9 million a year. I'm a bit sceptical of Manchester United willing to meet Paul Dybala's wage demands and all that. I think reportedly, we've already offered him a salary, and I think reportedly we've offered him around just over £7 million a year, and I think that actually equates to around £150,000 a week, if I'm right. That's still a pay rise though, because obviously his current salary at the moment with Juventus, I do believe Paul Dybala is on around is it £6.5 million a year. That obviously equates to around 120 grand a week. But if we were willing to pay Paul Dybala 350 grand a week, obviously that would make him one of the highest paid players in the Premier League. Also make him one of the highest paid players at the football club as well. Obviously our highest paid player is Alexis Sanchez. Obviously Alexis Sanchez is on 400 grand a week, potentially rise up to 500 grand a week, based on bonuses and image rights. But we've got quite a few players that have on extortionate amounts of money. Rashford, he signed a new deal a couple of days years ago. He's potentially on 200 grand a week, but 200 grand a week, but potentially rising up to 300 grand a week with bonuses and that. I think, you know, Martial's on a substantial amount. I can't remember what Martial's on now. I think Lukaku, you know, he's obviously, you know, on a substantial amount. I think he's on around 200 odd grand a week. You got De Gea, you know, he's agreed a 6-year contract and he's going to be earning around 375 grand a week as well. So we have got, you know, players on big contracts, as you all know, but you know, obviously, you know, with us offloading Romelu Lukaku though, it's going to help us with our wage bill, and that obviously, you know, that's going to help us, you know, free up funds, you know, to give Paul Dybala a significant pay rise. I just don't know if we're willing to meet his 350 grand a week wage demands. Maybe that's a bit, maybe nonsense about, you know, Dybala wanting 350 grand a week. You know, some reports are saying he wanted around 250 grand a week. But reportedly it says, I think it was coming from the Daily Star, and then she said, you know, we'd offered, you know, Paul Dybala around just over £7.5 million. But I think, you know, based on his wage demands now, this could be a stumbling block of Dybala making his proposed move to Manchester United. But I still believe Man United are in talks with Juventus. But you know, he's got no intentions of leaving Juventus. He still initially said, you know, he wants to fight for his place in the Juventus team. But you know, Paul Dybala, he's never played in the Premier League, but I think, you know, he would have all the attributes to come and succeed at Manchester United. And like I said, I would be excited about the prospect of him coming in. I think, you know, he would blend in very well alongside the likes of, you know, Rashford and Martial and Daniel James. And I do believe Dybala, you know, would be a good upgrade to the likes of Lingard and, you know, Juan Mata and all that. And obviously, you know, he's got that experience under his belt because he's now 25 years of age. Don't get me wrong, you know, he has still got a lot of development in him. You know, his goal scoring pedigree in Italy is absolutely fantastic. As I think in his career, he scored 118 goals as Paul Dybala. That's very impressive. You know, he only scored 10 goals last season for Juventus, I think in around 40 odd appearances, because he enjoyed a difficult time last season, did Dybala. But in his 4 years with Juventus, in all competitions, he's made 182 appearances and he has scored 78 goals. I do believe he's under contract with Juventus until 2022. I do believe he signed this deal a couple of years ago. But in his 4 years with Turin, he's won 4 Serie A's and 3 Coppa Italians. Also, Paul Dybala has been named in the Serie A Team of the Year on 3 occasions as well, you know, reflecting on his impressive performances. And I think Juventus did pay around, was it €40 million for him back in 2015 from Parma. But yeah, I would love, you know, Paul Dybala, you know, to currently come in. You know, he can play as a forward, you know, he can also play as an attacking midfielder, but of course, he's primarily a number 10, so I think this is where Manchester United, you know, would orchestrate on putting him, of course, if he was to come to the football club. But, you know, Paul Dybala has basically said he'll only come to Manchester United, obviously, of course, if he does get a significant pay rise, and obviously if the club are willing to meet, you know, what Dybala and his representatives, of course, are demanding. But yeah, I'd love him, you know, to come in, Dybala, and I think, you know, Juventus are set to tell him, you know, that they're willing to offload him, because obviously, you know, Juventus spent an extortionate amount on Ronaldo last summer. You know, they spent quite an extortionate amount on De Ligt this summer, and you know, they've done good business this summer. They haven't only got De Ligt, you know, they've got Adrian Rabiot. You know, they've also got Aaron Ramsey, so he's on, you know, a big contract term in that with Juventus. Is he on around what, 400 grand a week? Aaron Ramsey, if I'm currently right. So maybe Juventus are open to offloading a couple of their players. But like I said, you know, Paul Dybala is a very good player indeed. You know, the links haven't really emerged, you know, for the majority of this summer because he hasn't been one of our priority targets. But like I said, it's just come out quite recently, you know, in the last 4 or 5 days, you know, basically, you know, saying that, you know, we've stepped up our interest in the player. Obviously, disregarding Dybala as being part of any swap deal, he's going to cost you from between 70 to 90 million pounds, as Juventus confirmed. But I think this will be very beneficial for Manchester United because comparing Dybala and Lukaku, I think Dybala is a better footballer than Lukaku in my opinion, but I'll credit both players because Dybala's goal scoring pedigree is good in Italy and Lukaku's goal scoring pedigree is good in the Premier League. And you know, and you know, with Lukaku, I think we've got to get rid of him anyway because you know he is one of the problematic players at the football club. He's one of the problematic players at the football club, is Lukaku, and obviously now he's going to find it very hard, you know, to get game time. He's going to find it hard to get in that mix because you've got the likes of Daniel James in that attacking line now. You've got Martial, you know, you've got Rashford, you know, you've got you know, Mason Greenwood. He's the upcoming, obviously, you know, he's been assured more playing time this season. Obviously you've got Chong, who's the upcoming future as well. So Lukaku is going to really find it difficult to get in that mix. And this Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice preference anywhere is Marcus Rashford ahead of Romelu Lukaku. And I think Lukaku obviously knows becoming infuriated about about this. You know, Solskjaer got appointed in, was it around 6 or 7 months ago now, and you know, since he, you know, and you know, obviously in that 6 or 7 month period, you know, Lukaku has just been so unhappy, you know, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So he's basically told Solskjaer, you know, that he does want to leave the football club. And obviously, you know, he was speaking about his proposed move to Italy, you know, quite a while back. But I think he was also talking about a move to Juventus a while back, and I think that was his preference at one point. You know, he was excited about the prospects of, you know, linking up with Cristiano Ronaldo in the Juventus team. But we do know mainly for this summer, you know, for the large portions of the summer, you know, Inter Milan have obviously, you know, been in for Lukaku, but it's been coming out in the last 6-7 days, you know, that, you know, Juventus, of course, have invented the equation. Now they basically, you know, want to get a deal more of the line for Lukaku. But it's now basically all, you know, basically now it's all dependent on, you know, what happens there with Dybala, because I do believe, you know, Lukaku has actually agreed the personal terms with Juventus. He's agreed the personal terms with Juventus. I do believe his, you know, salary and that's being sorted out. I think reportedly he's set to earn around €9 million a year with Juventus. That equates to just over 8 million in pounds sterling, and reportedly I think that equates to around 160 grand a week. So his contract term and that has been sorted out as Lukaku's. But now obviously, you know, Juventus want this deal to go through, but now the deal hinges on, you know, whether, you know, Paul Dybala agrees to move to Manchester United. So I'm hopeful, you know, that he does say yes to Manchester United move. But yeah, you know, he's set to hold talks with Maurizio Sarri regarding his future, and then, you know, before he currently makes a decision. So like I said, more things will probably update tomorrow, because I think he's set to hold talks tomorrow. I think initially he has been on his holidays, reportedly, and he's set to return to Juventus and that tomorrow. So yeah, I'd love, you know, Paul Dybala to come in. But like I said, you know, I've been analysing, you know, pre-season. You know, I have actually, you know, been analysing these pre-season games, like I said, and I can already see the vast improvements in the squad. You know, we do look much more better now in that attacking third of the pitch. You know, we seem to be, you know, creating more chances. You know, we're scoring goals, and we've got that pace up front. And you know, that's something we lacked last season, because you know, we lacked that pace last season. This is why we wasn't scoring enough goals. This is why, obviously, you know, wasn't ruthless enough in that in front of a goal. But we have now got that pace, because you've got Daniel James with electrifying pace. You've got Martial with good pace. You've got Rashford with good pace. I think, you know, they've all done well as well in pre-season, but we do look good now in that attacking third of the pitch. But I do believe, you know, with Martial and all that, I think, you know, the club may orchestrate on, you know, playing him more central this season, you know, Anthony Martial in the Premier League, because I think he's done really, really well in that central position, you know, throughout pre-season as Martial. I do know he actually primarily plays off the left, but, you know, Martial seems to be more effective in that number 9 role. But you've got Martial and Rashford, you know, anywhere that can both play out wide, they can both play centrally. Rashford, of course, is supposed to be more effective centrally, and but yeah, you know, Martial, Rashford and Daniel James, of course, are still very, very young. But pre-season's gone really, really well. You know, we've won 5 games out of 5. You know, and 10 goals scored, only a 1 goal conceded. You know, we beat Perth Glory 2-0, Leeds 4-0, Inter Milan 1-0, Tottenham 2-1, and of course, you know, Christian Sunday by 1 goal to 0. So there's only 1 game now remaining in pre-season, as you all know. Only 1 game remaining, and that is AC Milan on the 3rd of August. So obviously, you know, after the AC Milan game, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get a better indication of what team, you know, he's going to go with against Chelsea, and I've got a slight, you know, indication or slight idea, you know, what, you know, squad team, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, you know, going to go with against Chelsea and all that. But like I said, I've been impressed with the young players throughout pre-season. I've been very, very impressed. But with Lukaku, like I said, he hasn't played in pre-season, obviously, no, because he's allegedly been injured, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer confirmed. He's had, you know, some kind of ankle problem. You know, Lukaku did travel to Australia. He travelled to Singapore. He also travelled to China. But obviously, no, you know, reportedly didn't play because he was injured, and obviously he wasn't even part of the Norway squad. So Lukaku missing 9 games is obviously not going to fuel more speculation in regards to his future. I think reportedly we've imposed a transfer deadline on Romelu Lukaku. He initially said that we've given him till Thursday, you know, to engineer a move away from the football club. But I do believe now if Dybala comes to Manchester United, obviously, you know, Lukaku is currently, you know, going to be going to Juventus. I think Inter Milan now have turned their attentions more on Edison Cavani. Obviously, you know, Inter Milan have basically been in for Lukaku for the entirety of the summer, but Inter Milan, of course, have struggled to meet our valuation, because, you know, we want around 75 or 80 million. You know, we're looking to recoup the money that we did pay for Lukaku a couple of years ago from Everton, or maybe even orchestrating on, you know, gaining a little bit of a profit. You know, with Inter Milan, I do believe they're under financial fair play restrictions. You know, they're trying to offload a couple of their players of Inter Milan, you know, to meet our current valuation, but, you know, they've struggled to do this. But Inter Milan, I think, have already had 2 bids turned down for Lukaku. You know, they've had a 54 million bid turned down. They also inquired about getting Lukaku on a 2-year loan with the obligation to buy, but Manchester United didn't entertain this offer because we're only willing to let him go, of course, on a permanent deal. And, you know, I will give Inter Milan the benefit of the doubt in, you know, the aspects of, that, you know, Lukaku isn't worth, you know, what we're demanding for him, and he isn't worth that. You know, Inter Milan, I think, initially value him at around £60 million. I believe we overpaid for him a couple of years ago. You know, Everton did get a substantial amount for him, because I know he did really, really well with Everton, but I still don't think he was worth what we paid for him. You know, we paid £75 million for him. It initially risen up to £90 million because there was 15 million add-ons included, you know, which did potentially rise it to £90 million. And, yeah, and he's actually, you know, our second most expensive sign. Initially, he's still got 3 years left on his contract with Manchester United. Lukaku's agent, you know, Federico Pastorella, obviously, you know, he was in Milan last week holding negotiations with Inter Milan because he's overarching view on it. You know, he said basically, you know, Inter Milan have been obviously, you know, desperate to sign him because Antonio Conte has identified basically Lukaku as his number one target. But Antonio Conte initially anyway has been a long admirer of the player because obviously, as you all know, Antonio Conte was in for Lukaku a couple of years ago when he was manager of Chelsea. But obviously he didn't go to Chelsea. He ended up coming out to Manchester United and all that. And Lukaku did say a while about that. He did describe Antonio Conte as the best manager in the world. He was, you know, keen on playing under his guidance and all that. But, you know, me talking on Lukaku's behalf, I think, you know, obviously, I would if it was me, if I was Lukaku, just say I was Lukaku, and I'm obviously not talking on his behalf. But if I had to choose out of Juventus and Inter Milan, where my destination would be, my preference would be Juventus because I think Juventus would be able to, you know, guarantee more success. You know, probably no Inter Milan, you know, wouldn't be able to do this, and I think, you know, he would fit in Juventus' system, you know, perfectly well. You know, him playing alongside Ronaldo, I think, you know, would be exciting, you know, for Lukaku. But we've got to get rid of him anywhere, because it would be beneficial for him because he's only 26 years of age. You know, he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. But like I said, Inter Milan have been in talks with Manchester United for quite some time. Obviously, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, the Inter Milan director travelled to London to hold negotiations with Manchester United. But it's looking probable that Lukaku will go to Juventus and Paul Dybala will come to Manchester United. But I think that's very beneficial. It's beneficial, you know, this is probably beneficial for Juventus and Manchester United because you can see Dybala's service to requirements at Juventus, Romelu Lukaku's service to requirements at Manchester United. But like I said, Lukaku was exceptional in his first season with the club. I can't fault him for that. You know, he scored, I think it was 27 goals in all competitions in his first season. You know, he was exceptional in his first season, but in his second season didn't really replicate that Lukaku. But in his 2 seasons at the football club, he scored 42 goals in 96 games in all competitions. But like I said, he's got a good proven pedigree in the Premier League as Lukaku. But like I said, you do know I've got so many strong concerns about him anyway. I think he bottles it against the big teams. You know, his first touch concerns me. You know, hasn't really got that endless potential. You know, doesn't really get enough of them runs in behind. Lukaku can play well when he's getting that support up front, you know, like he has demonstrated in his 2 years with Manchester United. But like I said, when he's on his own, you know, he's not quite reliable. But like I said, and you know, initially that added more speculation as well. You know, when, you know, Lukaku was it a couple of days ago, you know, left, you know, the Manchester airport immediately, you know, and, you know, boarded a flight to Belgium, you know, to go have negotiations with his agent. And but yeah, I do believe he's agreed the terms with Juventus now. So basically, it all relies on Paulo Dybala basically. So we'll see what happens. But there's been quite a few players in our agenda, you know, who actually, you know, could replace Lukaku at the football club. You know, there's been talks of Moussa Dembele. Solskjaer's identified him as a replacement, and I think Moussa Dembele's a good player. You know, he's an out-and-out number 9. He's still 23 years of age. He's obviously, I think he played in the Premier League when he was younger with Fulham. I think he began his senior career with Fulham, did Moussa Dembele. You know, obviously, you know, last season was his first season with Lyon, and I think he scored 22 goals in 46 games in all competitions. Obviously, you know, before he was at Lyon, he had good spells with Celtic and Fulham. I think quite a few teams were tracking Moussa Dembele, you know, when he was at Fulham. But yeah, he did have 2 good years in Scotland. Like I said, he did well with Lyon last season. He's still got 4 years left on his contract with Lyon. I do believe Lyon paid around, was it 19 or 20 million pounds for him from Celtic last summer. But yeah, you know, we have been in for Moussa Dembele, but I don't think, you know, he's going to be coming to Manchester United. Obviously, there was talks about Mario Icardi before. You know, there were talks about Wissam Ben Yedder, was it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying that we identified him as a replacement for Lukaku. And but like I said, if he leaves the football club, like I said, which is looking like we're going to need a replacement for him, so it's looking likely Dybala is going to be the replacement. But I'm very excited about the prospect of Dybala, you know, coming in. But like I said, swap deals are very rare, you know, to the you know, highest level of the game. You know, the last swap deal I basically saw was back in January 2018, you know, when Sanchez, you know, came to Manchester United as part of a swap deal of Mkhitaryan going to Arsenal. And you know, my opinions on Sanchez, you know, he basically maybe needs to get given another season, to see how he cooperates and that. Obviously, Sanchez has been a huge disappointment since his arrival back in January 2018, and he hasn't exceeded expectation levels as we all thought he currently would have done. But maybe, we've actually tried to get rid of Sanchez for the majority of the summer, but obviously we found it very difficult, based on his substantial wages. He hasn't played in pre-season, Sanchez, because I think has he been injured or something like that, Sanchez? I know he had been injured at one point. I don't think he's injured now. I don't know, but I know that he had currently been injured. But yeah, maybe he will improve this season. But Sanchez is aging up. He's what, 30, or is he 31 years of age? Now looking at it, he doesn't have a future at the football club. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, guys, still lots to address in the squad. Like I said, I think we're okay on that left-hand side, because as you noticed last season, the majority of our attack was coming from that left-hand side. But we're okay on that left now anyway. You've got Martial that, plays on the left sometimes. He's primarily left wing, but I think we'll play more centrally now. You can put Rashford out wide. You've got Daniel James that can play on the left and right. We've played Daniel James on the right a couple of times, but he's supposed to be more effective from that left-hand side. You've got Luke Shaw as our left-back. Obviously, he's our first choice left-back, and he's very reliable. He's Luke Shaw, of course, won the double, was the double player of the year last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. But like I said, guys, there's still lots to address in the squad. Like I said, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I do believe he's following Alex Ferguson's philosophy, and he believes he's following a policy that proved successful under Alex Ferguson. But like I said, we have been a toxic club for a number of years now. For the last 5 or 6 years, we've been a toxic club, since Alex Ferguson's retirement. But we've been a toxic club because we've been mismanaged. This is the main factor reason why we have been underachieving, because obviously, we've been mismanaged, and 3 managers have been sacked since Alex Ferguson's retirement. But like I said, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I hope, we don't sack him, even if it does go wrong, that is, because I love him a bit, and, we haven't got the structure, of course, to keep sacking manager. But I'm very confident, he can take Manchester United forward. I think, he's doing everything he can in this window. I think initially, the board should have given him around £200 million like they assured they was gonna. Did they give him £200 million? I don't know, to be quite honest with you, because do you remember when reports came out a while back saying that allegedly, we'd only been given around £100 million to spend, because obviously it provided the reason, because obviously, we didn't qualify for the Champions League. But I initially said we need to sell players anyway, because he is problematic players at the football club anyway. Like I said, Rojo needs to go, Darmy needs to go. I said initially Sanchez needs to go, but obviously we're not going to offload him now. Lukaku needs to leave the football club. With Pogba, I still know how much of an imperative player he is, so I probably would keep Paul Pogba. But I think based on the extortionate amount anyway we've put on Paul Pogba, this could be the stumbling block of him leaving. He's confirmed he wants to leave the football club, but we want £180 million for Pogba, so basically we're demanding more than double than what we initially paid for him from Juventus back in 2016. Don't forget. But yeah, his first choice preference has been Real Madrid's, Paul Pogba's, but I think, I don't think Real Madrid are keen on, to pay, what we are currently demanding. So I think it would be more beneficial if he stays at the football club, Paul Pogba. He's had, like I said, he's had a great start to pre-season, and I think him and Bruno Fernandes in our midfield, just would be absolutely fantastic, even better with Milinkovic-Savic in. But, I'm sceptical now about Milinkovic-Savic coming to Manchester United. We've been in for Sean Longstaff, for quite some time as well, but I think Sean Longstaff to Manchester United is looking, very, very unlikely. Obviously, I'm sceptical that we'll pay what Newcastle are demanding, basically, because Newcastle have indicated now that Sean Longstaff's not for sale. They've basically said of Newcastle that they want £50 million if they're willing to do any business with a player. Steve Bruce has had his overarching view on it, and is obviously aware of the speculation. He's basically said that Steve Bruce has said that Sean Longstaff his future lies with Newcastle, and he basically has dismissed speculations of Sean Longstaff joining Manchester United. So I think Sean Longstaff will probably end up remaining at Newcastle. Probably not, obviously not for the rest of his career, but I think for this season, he'll definitely remain at Newcastle. Will Sean Longstaff. But yeah, so there's been quite a few midfielders that we've currently been in for. I think the only player I've been disappointed with is in pre-season has actually been Nemanja Matic, because I think he's actually been a huge disappointment for Manchester United, and I've got so many concerns about Nemanja Matic. He's too slow. Every time he plays in that midfield, he seems to slow it down. Some of his touches and that concern me. Plus, he's aging up as well. Nemanja Matic, don't forget. I think it's his birthday. Is it tomorrow or is it on? or is it on a Friday, if I'm right? But yeah, he's definitely nowhere maging up, and I know he's experienced in the Premier League. I think we overpaid for Matic as well. We paid £40 million for him. I know he's demonstrated himself. He's demonstrated that he can play well in that Matic, and he has done that for Manchester United. He did that towards the back end of last season in quite a few of his games. His passing can be good in that, but I've got so many strong concerns about it. And to be fair, I think Fred's actually more mobile and better on the ball there than the man Matic. But like I said, I analyse our midfield at the moment isn't good enough. But like I said, get Bruno Fernandes there in the mix and Paul Popper stays. The midfield there will dramatically improve. But like I said, I'm backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer all the way. But I'm very, very confident we will have a better season this season. And if Dybala does come in, I'm not going to be too cocky and say Manchester United are going to win the league, because it isn't, currently going to happen. I do believe Dybala will fit the Manchester United agenda, and I do believe he'll bring us them goals that we do need. Because Dybala, I'll give you some of his, what he's good at. He's got his endless potential is good. He's a very good agile player. I do believe he's also very, very good in the air. He's Dybala, and he can score goals. And he would be the right type of player for Manchester United. But I do know what squad Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to rebuild, and hopefully we can rebuild the squad. Hopefully we can rebuild a squad of what the squad currently did under Alex Ferguson. So hopefully now this team in this generation basically, and what players we do currently bring in, can replicate what the team did, of course, under Alex Ferguson. But don't forget, there is still the Hay from the Ferguson era. There's still Small from the Ferguson era. There's still Jones from the Ferguson era. There's still Young from the Ferguson era. And I think there's someone else here from the Ferguson era. So yeah, there's about 4 or 5 players here still. There's still about 4 or 5 players here from the Alex Ferguson era. Valencia initially was, but obviously now he obviously left at the end of last season. So there's about 4 players here still from the Alex Ferguson era. Yeah, so the main part of this video, was to give you the updates of Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire and Dybala. The news now about Bruno Fernandes: Manchester United have reportedly reached an agreement in principle to sign Bruno Fernandes. Like I said, even though Sporting Lisbon did say yesterday, did currently say yesterday that they denied speculations that Manchester United had agreed a deal to sign Bruno Fernandes, and obviously it didn't actually say that we'd put an offer in to Sporting Lisbon through Bruno Fernandes' agent and all that. But yeah, I think this is going to currently happen. I do expect 2 signings to be completed this week, and hopefully as well we can get Dybala on the board. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.